In this update, we've added the ability to have the software automatically create some notes for you or give you the ability to add notes yourself. And the reason that wanted to add this to the software was especially for people that are new to embroidery or new to certain embroidery techniques. Like when you first get started doing embroidery and you have to do applique, the first thing you have to do is learn what steps to take. So you have a placement stitch that stitches out for your applique, then you lay fabric down. The next thing is it tacks it down, and then it puts a border. And so there's these different steps you have to do, depending on if you're using a cutter or if you're cutting the fabric yourself. You have to do it in a certain steps. And so for somebody who's new, that is a complicated thing to learn. And that's part of the reason why we've added design notes. And we've added it to Applique and a couple other tools that will automatically place these notes in. And the really neat thing about it is that it will show up in the print preview. So if you print your design out to get your color sequence, those notes are going to show up at the appropriate places so that you can follow that when you're stitching your design. So I want to go ahead and show you how this works. What you see on the screen is this shape with this snowflake in it, and let's say that I want to turn this purple shape into applique. Well, it's really easy to do in the software. We just select it, and I just selected it from the sequence view, and I'm just going to come down and click on the convert to applique tool, and it's going to automatically convert this to embroidery. And I'm going to go ahead and change this color just so you can see it a little bit better. So I know it's not the exact color you might use, but at least you can see it now. So we have this, and I converted this to applique. And we know with applique you have a placement, stitch, a tack down, and a border. But you can see over here in the sequence view that it's a little bit different than in the previous build. For instance, you have color number 1, and then underneath it says stop, and it says before proceeding, place the applique. I can kind of click in here. You'll see it in the instructions, and then you have the other color, which is hard to see because it's actually white, and color, and then another stop, and a third color, which is the border. And so when you go to your print preview, we'll click on this and we'll go to the next page. And when you go to the next page, you'll notice that the first color is this violet blue, which is your placement line. And you'll see that this stop sign appears between color number 1 and 2. And it says, before proceeding, place the applique fabric over the placement line. If the fabric isn't pre-cut to size and is instead to be cut away after tack down, make sure the fabric is at least 1/2 inch larger on each side of the line. So it gives you instructions on if you're going to cut it yourself or if you're going to use a fabric cutter to cut out your applique piece. And then you're going to do color number 2, and then between color number 2 and color number 3, it says before proceeding, cut the excess fabric around the outside of the tack down stitch. This step is not necessary if the fabric was cut to size prior to doing the embroidery. So it's really neat. We give the instructions, especially if you're new to doing applique, and it just is a really helpful guide to, because sometimes an applique piece can fall kind of late in a design, and it can be hard to keep up with it and know exactly when a placement stitch is going or when a tack down stitch is going. And so this is just another thing to help make it easier for you. So I'm going to go ahead and close this and go back to it. So I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to convert this applique to artwork again. And so it's just an artwork piece. We've also added some of these instructions to some other tools as well. For instance, like you have auto lace, you have auto cut work, and white work lace. So these will appear automatically, the steps that you need to take. So when you convert it to those things, you'll get those stop signs. But let's say that you were doing a design yourself, and I have like this, I converted it to a run, and I copy and paste it, and let me just say move it up. Let's say, and I'll copy and paste it one more time. Let's say that you were doing a custom applique, and you didn't use the applique tool, but you wanted to, maybe you're making this for somebody and you wanted to include some instructions. It's pretty easy to do. What you'll do is select the item that you want to add a note before or after, and inside the sequence view, it's very important you have to do it inside of the sequence view, is right click on it, and you will see the option to add a note, and it will let you add a note before or after. And it's kind of fallen off the screen, the insert before or after, but I'm going to choose insert after. And so what I can do is I can say before proceeding, and I can add whatever note I want. And you'll notice that there is a save note option. So if you have a note that you're going to want to use over and over again, you can save it here, and they will show up under this drop down. I don't have any saved right now, so I'm going to go ahead and just save this one, just so before proceeding. I know it doesn't really say much, and I can give it the something that is, kind of represents it, and I'll hit save, and I'll hit OK. And so you'll notice what happened here is, because I chose to add the note after, it dropped it down right here, and it shows up right underneath of the selected item. And if I go to print preview, you'll notice that that note shows up in between color 1 and 2, just as where it was here. And you can edit the note if you want. You can add another note if you want. You can delete a note. So I just deleted that note, so it's no longer in here. And if I go back to add note after, notice that I saved that one before, so now it shows up in this list. So I did do one before of test 01, so stop before proceeding. I can hit OK, and it's going to drop that in. So the note feature is really handy, especially if you're making a design for somebody, or if you're doing a design and you don't want to forget to do something when you stitch it out. You can just add that note, and then when you go to print out the color sequence, it'll show up in order. So the add design notes is a really neat tool. We're excited about it, and hope that you enjoy it as well.